let's talk about the Gaza Trump plan that was proposed this week. Some of the details include the release of the hostages very imminently. Hamas fighters would be given amnesty if they lay down their arms, and Israel would not occupy Gaza. It would instead be overseen by this peace board with Trump as the chair and Tony Blair involved as well. Harry, what have you made of the Trump plan so far? I mean, it has got agreement from the Middle East, but we're still at the time waiting to hear from Hamas.
Yeah, look, I think I think Israel have swallowed some fairly unpalatable moves there. The idea that the architects that still haven't had their heads blown off of October 7th will be able to sort of skip into the sunset and escape their crimes. Douglas Murray made a very good point yesterday that actually, the releasing of thousands of Palestinian criminals, terrorists, in return for the return of bodies and the 48 remaining hostages, that is a big move. Sinwar was one of these people that was released from an Israeli prison and went on to mastermind October 7th. So it is a big move for Israel. I think for Netanyahu, I don't think he had a huge amount of choice. I think it puts me in quite an interesting spot now that he has said, look, yeah, come on, fine, we're ready for a ceasefire. The global reaction has been amazing, though, hasn't it? The same people that have been banging on day in, day out, say we need a ceasefire now, going, whoa, we didn't mean a ceasefire like that. And the mask has slipped because they're now saying, oh, the terms of this are acceptable. There's no role for Hamas. So well, yeah, that's the point. There is no role for Hamas. They've had their senior leadership wiped out 3 times over now. The remaining block of it is, who knows how long they can realistically keep fighting, and they keep fighting without support of the countries like Qatar, Iran. How long are they actually going to be able to sustain this? So I do wonder whether we will get to some sort of fudged peace agreement. But no sign of it yet. But they haven't come to the table yet. Are they good faith actors? Probably not. But I mean, what can we do? I was amazed how far Netanyahu moved on that one, though.
Yeah, no, that is very extraordinary. I mean, the reaction from the left as well, as you're alluding to, Harry, there has just probably been the biggest eye opener. Stop the ceasefire, carry on the genocide. As they see it. It makes literally no sense.
No, exactly.
It exposes their lies.
Yeah, if all they were interested in peace, then apparently this isn't good enough a peace for them. But I dare say we'd come to expect that. It's also been pretty fascinating to see the way in which this plan is kind of called the Israelophobic left's bluff in precisely the way that you describe, Harry. But it's also, I think, shone a light on Hamas in relation to the fact that there has always been this tendency, particularly in the West, to buy that their propaganda that this is primarily a kind of national liberation sort of resistance struggle, rather than what, if you read their founding documents, it's obviously just a holy war against Israel, the destruction of the state of Israel, Palestine to just be the sort of Palestinian wing of an Islamic caliphate. And whilst it may well be the case that there's more room for maneuver now because so many layers of the Hamas leadership has been taken out, because the fact that there's a lot of just older teenagers being put been handed Kalashnikovs and sent out to fight in a way that this organization is not what it once was. So maybe there is some movement there. It's certainly, sort of made clear that the picture that we were always presented about this conflict has never entirely matched up with the realities on the ground. There's obviously so many questions that hang over it, not only, whether or not Hamas are going to play ball, whether or not they're going to be honest brokers, they almost certainly won't be, but also what happens next. There is this kind of transitional arrangement, this idea you're going to have kind of technocrats drawn from Palestine but also elsewhere to kind of rule over the territory until such point in which it can more ably govern itself. But I think that raises a question which has always hung over this conflict, which is what is going to emerge within, broadly speaking, kind of Palestinian civil society that would be able to produce a leader or a party or a movement which was willing to admit that this holy war against Israel stuff was, if nothing else, a hiding to nothing, that was leading to the deaths of their own citizens. And that's one of the big questions that still hangs over this. But again, in terms of the prospects for the war to be brought to an end, in terms of the prospects for actual peace, as we've been talking about, it's fascinating that the supposedly peace activists have gone remarkably silent, if not enraged by what has been proposed in recent days.
Absolutely Harry, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, just on Tony Blair, I suppose. It's almost like
Be
Tony
rude-
Blair and the
rude
Middle
not to,
East
yeah.
don't
Yeah.
normally mix.
designed a peace deal just to wind up everyone, right? I mean, the guy's track record in the region, ain't great, to put it delicately, right? You can draw a pretty straight line from 2003 Blair to the siege of Raqqa. I mean, that is his Middle East legacy. Obviously, he wants to that not to be his lasting legacy. I wonder. Yeah, I don't think anyone had Tony Blair as the protector of Palestine on their 2024-25 bingo cards, and also for America, for a president that campaigned on America doing less. Stepping back from its role as world policeman, having Donald Trump literally in charge of the Gaza Strip, I think is also slightly mind bending. But hey, if it works, it works, and he clearly wants to build that casino on the Riviera, doesn't he? So no, it was a slightly bizarre day at the White House with Netanyahu. There's a sort of anti-Semitic slur that Netanyahu's pulling Trump's strings, and Israel runs America. And actually, there's an amazing picture the White House put out of Netanyahu sitting there like a schoolboy being told off, while Donald Trump held the phone for him while he made him phone the Qataris to apologize for.
And he's reading
for
from a script, isn't he?
Strike
Yeah.
in Qatar. You just think that's not the that doesn't look like that doesn't look like Israel pulling strings to me, does it? So yeah, remarkable day.
Trump will get his golf course and Trump Tower and a digital ID for every Gazan